Welcome to 24/7 Laredo Talk Show. It's an original, free, and independent news and lifestyle channel dedicated to the issues affecting Laredo and surrounding areas. Today, we're very fortunate to have a very good former public servant, Patricia Barrera, who's here to talk to us a little bit about herself. And I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
One time, an interview with another department head who's no longer a public official, and most of his employees were women. And I asked him one time, and I looked at the salaries. I said, "How come you're paying the women so low compared to the men?" He said, "Well, Judge, because I'm a lot of them are married.
So they have a spouse.
That they already have a spouse who supports them, so they don't need to make more money." Really? I said, "Isn't that kind of?" Well, I didn't want to be outright rude, but I told him straight out, "That doesn't sound right. That's probably close to being illegal." He said, "Well, I'm the public official. We don't have civil service, and the way I want it, this is the way I want it. That's the way it's going to be." And to some degree, I know they've tried to even things out now, but there's some of that going on.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I had more women. I think the most men we ever had was maybe 8. Most of them were women. I had 1 or 2 supervisors. They were male. But even one of those was an assistant.
Right.
And so he had a female above him. But I come from the school that women have to be able to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. Okay?
Right.
And at that office, the work doesn't wait. The taxpayer's in front of your face and wants to get their sticker or their receipt from paying taxes.
Exactly.
And, and I cross-trained a lot of them. And we just had a very good running operation because the quality of employees that we hired and even the supervisors,
right?
They were in place.
Well, now, what are you working on right now? You're a private consultant, as I understand.
Yeah.
And you're still doing some of the same type of work they're doing?
The next day I opened up an office and it's called Oficina Patricia Barrera. And
you can't miss it because you're using the same colors from your campaign. And
the logo is mine. I bought it because the county wouldn't pay for it back in 1993. So it's my logo, so I'm using it. And what we do is we help people with titles. Vehicles, most of it is vehicles. We do bonded titles because now that's what the tax office requires. And we also do for boats and mobile homes.
Where can they reach you if they're looking for you?
956-602-0240.
Now, during that period of time, coming back to when you were county tax assessor, you made lots of changes.
Oh, yeah.
And you made the commissioners realize that we need to bring the tax assessor's office up to par to the rest of the state. What changes do you think are you proud of the most that you made?
Well, to begin with, on day 1, I was able to, because I had so many vacancies, I didn't fill them up. I left them open because I had gotten permission from Commissioner's Court that if I found the money in my budget, I could buy the equipment I needed to connect to the AS400 the county had. County was given by the state an AS400. No one was connected because no one could find money. So they laughed. Judy laughed. I said, "Go ahead, Ms. Barrera. We'll get you whatever you want if you have the money." Well, I found the money by saving money. And I didn't have to buy the AS400. It was already there. I just needed the computers.
Right.
The other hardware they needed to
Right.
plug in and the software. We got that, so we became computerized. We were the first office to be completely computerized. Okay?
Wow. Well, you again,
And that helped us. Now, we had computers from the state for motor vehicle. That is all provided by state. I then later, I had a person who was stealing money. We were able to find out who it was. And Mercurio at that time told me, "You're like a bank."
Mercurio being the county judge.
He told me, "You're like the bank." And at the bank, we do images of everything. So you need to have that, which meant every check that came in, every title that went out.
It was a
we're
lot
still
of
doing
detail.
that.
It was a lot of detail because
It was a lot of hard
back
work.
before you came in, it was all paper. There was
Everything.
they only used typewriters back then.
Right,
And
right.
so they had to do the old-fashioned formula breakdown. They just did not.
Even to do the property taxes,
Yes.
okay? The calculations. So I was the first one to get it all computerized.
Right.
So that was the first thing. Then we got everything that comes in we ended up helping law enforcement. Law enforcement, if they needed to know if somebody was washing money, they would come to us. They didn't have to go to Austin. They would come to us, and we'd give it their information, or we'd give them access to
Well, you
it.
also open up the first one or two investigators within the tax assessor's office
Right,
to
exactly.
to check up on vehicles
Yes.
that were not properly registered.
Endorsed, or how they were selling them.
Exactly.
We
Something
did a lot
we
of
didn't have
that.
before.
And then the next, I think the thing I'm the most proud of is in 2007, when I got a call from the State Department that they needed help with passports. Because they were going to pass some laws that in order to come in and then to go back, you needed to have a passport. And they knew that because we were a border town, that we would have a heavy influx. And the district clerk was not going to be able to handle it.
Right.
That's when the city library, a lot
Right.
of different, Tammy U, they all ended up giving that service.
Exactly.
But we were the number one. And
Right.
I don't know about now, but we were number one. I remember one summer, it was 2008, the lines, they had given a deadline, the State Department, if by this date you don't have a pass card or passport, you will not enter back.
But that was the deadline, and then eventually, though,
And
I
do you remember what happened? The hallway at the Justice
Was-
Center was wall to
To wall
wall,
people.
from one end to the street.
Right.
And then we locked the doors.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to rush in, we'd lock them, and we'd bring in 10, 15
Yeah,
people
at a
at a time. And the best part was that it was summertime,
Yes, I
and my
remember.
people were, some were on vacation, but that's when the office was dead. So it happened at the right time. Even that, the timing
Right.
was great.
Well, you did a great job, but unfortunately, well, not fortunate, unfortunately or not, the State Department ended up waiving that particular aspect, and is no longer required to cross the border
Right.
for the passport. But you
But-
certainly at that point, we
They-
needed to get it done.
And it continues. People
it
come
continue, right. And-
from Mexico, they come.
Right.
The child was born here,
Right.
they come and they
And-
bring
and
them.
It
to
made
get
the
the
job easier
passport.
for everybody.
Yeah.
And I know this has nothing to do probably much with you, you're gonna say, but math is very important for young people. Obviously, we want to teach people how to pay their taxes and how to pay their bills and so on. Is that something you saw in Laredo that's needed, some type of financial literacy in our community?
I think so. It's like credit, okay? The best way to avoid getting a bad credit rating is every time you get your bill, pay the minimum right away. And if you have money, towards the end of the month or whenever the next paycheck, send another payment.
Right.
And that'll avoid you getting bad credit ratings. That's a free advice. You don't have to go pay a consultant for that.
Very good advice,
You
though.
know,
It's a very
and
good
taxes
advice.
is the same thing, okay? The county, LISD, and the city, they allow you to pay half of your bill by November 30th. December 1st, you're out. But if you go between October and November 30th, and you pay half of your bill, you have till June the following year to pay the other half with no penalties or interest. A lot of people wait when they get their income tax check. When does that happen? February or March. By that time, you're already earning. You have to pay the tax bill that was due by January 31st, plus 7% interest if you pay it in February, or 9% interest if you pay it in March. And it
That-
goes up
that-
2% each month.
That's some of the stories, again, this is exactly what I'm talking about as a tax assessor. There's a lot of issues that a tax assessor could be talking to us about.
Mm-hmm.
And you were certainly very helpful for a lot of people over the course of the year, so we want to.
Every year I would come out and tell
And-
people,
and-
tax
and-
statements are going out.
Right.
And in the mañana was always very good about putting articles saying if you pay by no later than November 30th, you can pay half.
Right.
And that helped some people. Some who came and paid, and if they were paying February, March, I would go to the window and tell them, next year, do this, you know.
Right.
So,
Well, you've heard it from our former tax assessor. You can find different ways of paying your taxes. Please consider those. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with our former tax assessor-collector, Patricia Barrera. Welcome back. We're here with Patricia Barrera, our former Webb County Tax Assessor-Collector. He's telling us a little bit about her past history in dealings with the public and, of course, dealing with the Commissioner's Court. Now that you're seeing it from a different perspective, you're now outside looking at the commissioners doing their public works. What's your opinion concerning the needs of our community that you still see pending?
Well, when I was there, I wanted to move the tax office to what used to be Laredo Air Force Base. It's a more centralized area. The Commissioner's Court, for whatever reason, and I think it's maybe the few landowners that own land in downtown, are insisting in buying property downtown. The city of Laredo downtown Laredo is so far away from the majority of Laredoans, okay? I think we need to think outside the box and build outside. I think the city was correct in building the municipal court outside, also in the former Air Force Base. The police department moved outside. They bought a property off of Loop 20. They have been thinking outside the box. The county, for whatever reason, we lag behind, and we're still enamorados de downtown.
Well, I think that obviously downtown should be our crown jewel, one of the crown jewels of our community. Having said that, that crown jewel has to be supported by different activities or different business.
I'm going to differ with you.
But along with that, you also need to not only have this crown jewel, but you also have to have it somewhere else too. They could have branches somewhere else.
Look, when Laredo, back when I was a teenager, the only place to go shopping was downtown.
We'd all get in the bus and drive downtown.
We all got on the bus and came back, okay? When the mall was created on the north side, that was, different. But the people downtown they were making millions of dollars because of the chiveras coming from Mexico.
Yes.
They never did anything to improve their places, nada. Now they want all us taxpayers to get into some special tax district and help them rebuild downtown.
Well,
where are the millions of dollars?
That takes us to another topic.
Okay,
that's dealing with how do you revitalize downtown. But putting the tax assessor's office there is not going to revitalize downtown. You're only going to get people to go out there, pay a parking meter, and pay. But people are not going to stop and eat there.
And getting them frustrated because they can't find parking.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then they get a ticket and they have to pay it.
Well,
when they were paying taxes, either for the city of Laredo or us, So to me, the mentality is wrong.
I think people need to consider people who live in the Mines Road, people who live in El Cenizo, people who live in the former Air Force Base, and again, do branches in different areas. You already have the JPs in some of the areas around town.
Well, you have to, because that's by law.
By law, yes.
That's
we could
by law.
just extend some of those offices and include some of the duties out there. But downtown needs to be revitalized. But that's a different topic. But having them buy the old HEB building, I'm not sure if that is what the goal is for the county. If not, is it not the city's job? Isn't it somebody else's job to revitalize downtown?
Exactly.
And then what is the responsibility of the downtown owners to do as well? No más.
Create a new district. That was their big push.
Yeah.
And Betty Flores was pushing that.
Yeah. Another tax.
Yeah, another tax. Oh, but you couldn't protest. You couldn't go and try to fight the tax rate. They had full control. They were a dynasty into their own selves. And yet they were going to tell us taxpayers, you have to pay. And we'll set the value. We'll do everything.
Yes.
And you cannot come like at Commissioner's Court, City Council, or the school district. You can go and protest.
Yes.
You can take people and say, we don't want you to raise it, or else we'll meet you at the ballot box.
Right.
They were not on the ballot box.
Yeah. No. There were special district tax.
So we fought it, and we won. But the city of Laredo has never
But didn't they create a new district downtown and?
Well, but it's still open that can extend outwards.
Yeah.
If we don't stay alert, and that's something where people today need to be active.
Yes.
People need to be active and participate, know what's going on, and help out.
Yeah.
You know, be
Yeah.
a voice, because they really do believe that people aren't listening and people don't know. You know,
Well, to some degree, they are not listening because they're making decisions that people are not aware of.
because nobody's getting
Because
involved.
nobody's talking about it. And they
Nobody's
just-
blowing the horn
Yeah.
and telling, hey, people.
I would imagine you're encouraged. You started getting involved, and that's how I
Right.
ended up running
That's how I
for office.
started back in
Exactly.
1990.
Who knows?
Right.
Maybe getting involved again in another taxing issue might bring you back out of retirement.
It might if it gets me mad.
Well, right now we have a new tax assessor.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the programs I would imagine have continued. Are there any recommendations, suggestions about how it should continue to be run? Or are there any details that you've heard that they made some changes that are not as good as they
Well,
should?
Even before she came in, before she was elected and took office, the one who took the interim, Norma Faribault, things started to change. Okay, I left the same staff. The only person she fired was my chief deputy, but other than that, all the supervisors, everybody was there. But there was not that dedication to see that the service was being given. And that's when it started to drop.
Well, do you suppose because, and I can't speak for her because she's not here to defend herself, but it could be because she came from a UISD taxing district,
Right.
which has a different bosses
Well,
and different types of services,
exactly.
and she didn't quite could have understood the
She had never run
dynamics.
for office.
Right.
And when you're an elected official, you know who your boss is. Your boss is the voter. In my case, my boss was the voter and the taxpayer. Okay? So I had two bosses, and I had to keep them happy. So I put my people to work. And that was basically it. If you could handle the job, it was great, you know.
Well.
But unfortunately, they started to. When I left, Judge, it was a well-oiled machine. It knew how to function, with me or without me, in there or not there. It functioned. That came apart. And that's unfortunate. And taxpayers, and you know, I always feared one thing. The young people, they don't know how it used to be out at the base. So they
don't
can't
know
compare.
That's why I wanted you to get and talk to the public about how it used to be. Taxpayers used to pay the taxes
Long
while it was
lines.
raining, when it was cold, out in the
Standing
sun,
outside.
105-degree weather, it didn't matter.
And
that
why
was-
were they outside? Because the line inside had already spilled
Right.
out.
So,
for us,
I
you know?
mean, so it's
And-
important that we get a tax assessor and all the public officials, that they respond to the voters and
Right.
taxpayers.
And you know, I'm not going to say I didn't have long lines. Every end of the month, we had long lines. January 31st, for paying the taxes, we
Yeah.
had long lines. But I would tell people, give me 5 minutes and you'll be out of here,
Yes.
you know? And people would come, you were right. I'm out of here before 5 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So we moved it, you know? Lunch hours, people would come to the front. Every supervisor, assistant supervisor had to open box. There's no ifs and buts. I'm a supervisor. I'm special. No, you get paid more bucks. You're gonna
Right.
sit up front too.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I think you were running this business more
Like a business.
Yes.
Exactly.
Now, you obviously have a lot of knowledge with county government, over 25 years, and obviously you're still sort of involved. And of course, you had your raise recently. What advice would you give a young person now? If they're thinking about running, or what to be looking out for?
Well, you need to get involved. You need to know your subject. When I ran for tax assessor-collector, I had done more than a year of research into the tax office, into county government. So by the time I took office, I knew what would happen at Commissioner's Court, what needed to be turned in. We had county judges that had county attorneys becoming their assistant, and they didn't know how to do an agenda. And they had worked for the county for years, but knew nothing. So if you're going to be involved, you need to learn. You need to research. How does something happen? How does it come about?
So you recommend that
So
they
when
study their...
when I ran, I already knew the operation of county government.
Right.
I understood it, you know.
Being a woman who wants to run for office in the future, do they have any special challenges that probably a male does not have?
Every woman is thought to be inferior here in Webb County. You have to prove yourself. I had to prove myself as tax assessor-collector, and I continue proving myself because they don't expect us to have the brains or the ability, unfortunately.
But you don't
But
think-
we do have it,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, but
I
there
mean, I
are
was
some-
a
I mean,
college
I'm-
graduate. You know, everybody thought I was just a young kid with vestidos mexicanos
Yeah.
and didn't know anything.
Yeah.
When I told them I
Descalzos.
have a college degree and I taught it
Yeah.
at high school,
Well,
you know?
Now, you made the comment, so I gotta.
No, the
on
descalzo
behalf-
no, pero-
bueno, I gotta challenge you a little bit on that issue
Okay.
about the fact that maybe women are felt by all men to be inferior. Do you-
Well, maybe not
are
all
you talking
men.
about?
Okay.
Are you talking about many male public officials feel that way, or is it just the culture?
I think it's la cultura. I think it's part of what we bring as Mexican Americans, you know? More Mexican than American in that issue. Women were usually just at home.
Right.
You know, it was
Well-
the man who worked and earned the money. Then, as society has changed, I guess it all started in the 60s. Women started getting their degrees, mainly becoming teachers or nurses. That was that was their area.
And I can tell you, my story about when it came to women's rights is when I talked to this public official who said, I give them subpar salaries because they're married, and they don't need to make more money than that. Which was shocking that any man would ever think that way. But
Machismo.
Yeah,
That's a
sí
machismo.
existe. But I would venture to say that there's a lot of more men who are more sensitive or aware about that issue, and we're not gonna permit for women to be second-class citizens.
No,
At
no,
least we shouldn't.
that has changed.
Right.
But Laredo still lags
Yeah.
behind a little bit, you know.
Well, I've always said
But-
that if you look at the judiciary, Webb County is one of the last few counties in Webb County where the men are still, there are more men in higher judicial positions than women. Because if you look across the board in the state of Texas, there are more women, or they're almost half and half men and women. And if you look at the amount of money that people get in jury decisions, I mean, there is a bias against women. And I mean, I see it. And only through time and through education and through people like you mentoring other women and other young people to change those ways, we will be able to change that.
Right.
So,
In my case, most of my supervisors make more money than their husbands. Okay, I pay them well. You know, I
Right.
appreciate the work, but they were hard workers.
yes.
And that is one thing about women. We can do 2, 3 things at the same time: walk, talk, and read if you have to.
Right.
We can
Well,
do it.
I think all mamas feel the same way.
I think
That's
so.
for sure. In closing, I do want to ask you one last question. Patricia, what does the future hold for you?
I don't know. People are asking me to come back, and I'm looking at it. I've not made a decision. I hear it when I'm at the grocery store or Office Max, or, you know, just buying hamburgers, and people come up to me. They lament the long lines. Okay.
Yes.
So, you know.
We all got used to the short lines, and thanks to you. I know that a lot of people want to thank you publicly in some way, and for all the hard work that you did for the last 25 years as a tax assessor. You made their lives. Nobody likes to go pay taxes. Nobody likes to go to downtown.
But we try to make it less burdensome.
Less stressful.
Yes.
And we're so thankful for that.
Yes, thank you.
And so I want to thank you on behalf of many people out there
Thank you.
for your hard work and dedication. And I want to thank you, the public, for watching as well. Please press the like button so you continue to hear stories and candidates and people from our community talking about issues affecting Laredo, so you can be on top of all of those. So thank you again for watching, and I want to thank you again for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you for
Thank you.
welcoming.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
God bless you all.